The KeysDAN Show. It's the KeysDAN Show. I need a new theme for the KeysDAN Show. You might hear jokes. You might learn stuff. You never know what you're going to get on the KeysDAN Show. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. What's up, party people? It's KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, The KeysDAN Show. It's my, I guess this is my weekly FB Live version of The KeysDAN Show. Just checking in with the folks, making sure that, people are, at least have somebody to talk to, somebody to look at, somebody to smile with. If you'd like to give me a call at 501 470-6386 and tell me what you're up to as you're thriving and surviving and living in this time as we speak here on, let's see, I don't know what date it is. The days are all mixing together. It's May 24th, 2020, and we're currently on day blah, 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 of the quarantine of the coronavirus pandemic, the current novel COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. But that's not all that's going on in the world. I mean, things are starting to open up. Things are happening here in the world. You tell me what you're up to these days as you're coping with things. You know what? I forgot to get my phone. So be right back. And we're back. That was easy. All I had to do was get my phone. I have the phone set up to where it's Bluetooth into my Rode Procaster. I guess this podcast thing. I mean, I got into this podcasting about a year ago or so. Actually, it's a little bit more than a year ago, and it's just been getting more and more expensive. I tell you, as time progresses, you get the fancy microphone, you get the fancy board that's sitting next to me here that has all these fancy lights and sirens and buttons and pow. Makes me sound like a morning show, I guess. But this is one of the things I like to do. I turned a hobby into a career, into a hobby, into a career. Now it's kind of a mixture of both, to where you can chat with people online or not, man. If they're listening, that's fine. If they're not listening, that's fine too. The fun thing about podcasts, you could say pretty much whatever you want, whatever's on your mind. But getting the equipment to make it sound right, to make it sound the way you want it to sound. And I know when I record these things on FB Live, it's not perfect. It doesn't sound as good as it should. But when I'm in studio, these nice little pod mics, they work great. I mean, eventually I'll probably upgrade to the Shure. I guess it's what is the 7B. That's probably the best mic that's going on right now. I mean, I've used RE20s in the past, and I know that part might be a little more technical to where hey, what is he talking about? Microphones? What's the difference between this microphone and that microphone? I got my iPhone plugged into a earpiece that has a little microphone on it, and people seem to hear me fine. Yeah, people do hear you just fine with that. So, I like the broadcasting, and I've learned a lot about it over the years. I've taken the time to study the craft of broadcasting, making sure that my voice is great. I have talking points to talk about. I do have the 10 things you need to know today sitting in front of me, and I know it's Memorial Day weekend, and people are wanting to break out and party. Traditionally, this would be the beginning of summertime, officially summertime. School's out and summer begins. But, I know the kids have been out of school for a couple of months now, and they've been taking classes virtually. Is that done? Are you done with virtual classes? Are people graduated from their respective class grades and moving up to the next grade? Is that what's happening? I mean, you tell me. It's your chance to give me a call at 501-470-6386 and let me know what's going on in your neck of the woods, as it were. It's Keys, Dan. I do other podcasts where I get to chat with people, and I do invite you, if you want to do that, the What Makes You Famous podcast. If you look to that side right there, you'll see it scrolling through What Makes You Famous, hashtag What Makes You Famous. I get to talk to people all over the world to due to the great technology, the advantage, the technology that we have. I Skype them, I phone them. If they're in North America, they can get a phone. But I've been really getting into the Skyping and getting some video. So if you're listening to the audio portion of the What Makes You Famous podcast, hashtag What Makes You Famous. If you listen to the audio portion and you want to see what these people look like, hey, I've been doing that a lot. I've been getting a lot of video on Skype. Now, I haven't quite gotten into the Zoom yet, but I'm hearing good things, man. Skype had 12 years on the Zoom people, and Zoom just pretty much ate their lunch in about 2 months. Everybody got on the Zoom train, and it supposedly, I guess it sounds better. Maybe the picture quality's better. I think they give you little backgrounds. I think Skype just finally jumped on board and gave you little backgrounds that you could throw in, even if you don't have a green screen. But if you don't like what's behind you, that's currently running right now, you could always, boop, turn it into a beachfront or a tropical scene or whatever image you want. So I've tried that. I've checked out the Zoom, and it's fun. It's got some cool features, but it won't mesh in with the software that I'm using for the broadcasting right now. At least not this version. I'm sure pretty soon it will mesh in just fine. Well, yeah. Just sitting here on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, 6 p.m. I think I'm going to start doing these FB lives. I've been doing them for a couple of weeks. Man, maybe as time progresses, they'll get more and more popular, and people will jump in with me and become a part of the show. How about that? And you can be immortalized forever and ever. I know if you haven't noticed, I put a little advertising on that screen as well. So I'll be selling some advertising. Maybe we can monetize this. Maybe this could be a source of income, maybe extra cheese. I'm sure I'm not going to make a living doing podcasting anytime soon, but certainly it can be, just a little extra cheese on my McMuffin, I guess, if you will, to quote. I don't know. I crack myself up. Why do I crack myself up? I don't know, because nobody else is laughing, I guess. There's mixed reviews on what's going on. I'm hearing tell of people going to the beach and going to the lake, going out and just making it business as usual. Is that the proper thing to do? Is that the social thing to do? Is that the vigilant thing to do? I know I've been saying vigilance. If you've been listening to any of my podcast, I'm remaining vigilant in this time. I'm not really wearing the gloves or the face masks, but I am keeping away from people. I'm keeping the distance. I know. Hey, I'm excited. This week, the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, is opening back up, where it has opened up, limited wise, but at least the karaoke portion of the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, is opening back up. So I'm stoked. I get to see my people at the Rab, and we'll sing some songs. And I will keep my distance and remain socially vigilant. I've made them a part of the little scroll that's there, the Friday night video dance party and karaoke jam that I do at the Rab. Yeah. And I know that there's weddings that I have scheduled real soon. The Let's see, I have weddings in I guess in July is probably the next one. The ones that I've had previous to that have relocated and been postponed. I appreciate those folks that have not. I've talked to folks that were thinking, well, let's just cancel. Well, to an entertainer, to someone who's performing, the word cancel is so devastating to their hearts. Their livelihood. They have taken a chance on themselves and have put themselves out there. They had this idea that, hey, I play guitar well enough, I play my harmonica well enough, I play my kazoo well enough that I can entertain people. I'm gonna throw everything else away, throw caution to the wind, and bet on myself. And please, 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 won't you let me entertain you at your next event. Let me be a part of the show. And yes, I put a dollar value on that. And thank you for for having me at your show. But I know that people have been uh, thinking, well, let me just cancel that show. And somebody who's expecting that certain dollar amount, they were counting on it to keep a roof over their heads, put food on their plates. They're devastated. They start to feel depression, feel a little sorrow in their hearts and minds because they don't know where that income is going to be coming from. You were in essence giving them hope that they were going to have some source of income. But thank you for not canceling shows, but postponing shows. The difference between those two little words is so much that when you postpone, at least they have the hope, and I have the hope that I will still be able to feed my family and entertain you and put on a show. Because not only is it's a job, but it's also a love. You get to do something that you have a good time at, and in the meantime, you get to feed your family and keep a roof over your head. And that's a beautiful thing. To have a job that you appreciate, that's rewarding, that feels good when you go out and do it. The hardest part about my job, I think, I mean, bes- besides making sure, I get so nervous before every DJ job that I do, every DJ job, and my family will attest to that. Every time I'm going off to do a wedding or a corporate event, I think, oh my goodness, am I going to do this right? Am I a fraud? Do I feel like I don't, man, no matter how much I prepare, I'm still going to, oh man, I want this to go perfect because I want the show to go perfect. And I imagine at least 99.99% of the entertainers out there feel the same way, that when they go off to do a show, they want it to be perfect. I want the show to go as well as you want the show to go. So, I drive myself crazy mentally before the show, preparing for the show, making sure I have the right songs, making sure I have the planning form for that wedding. I have all the names correct for that birthday party. I have all the theme for that corporate event. Make sure I have I'm dressed properly. Oh, it's a luau. Let me whip out my Hawaiian shirt. I got that. Oh, it's a cowboy theme, country western. Oh, I got that. Let me get that shirt. Let me get that bolo tie. Let me get something that says cowboy so I can be a part of your show. I conform to you. And that's, I know that there's a lot of bands, a lot of people that say, oh, I don't, I want to play what I want to play, or who you hired. Man, I know that there's some DJs. They're techno DJs. They're country DJs. They're rock DJs. They're rap DJs. Hip hop DJs, and they won't play anything else but what they want to play. But I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that's the mobile DJ. I conform to you. Call me the human jukebox. I know that some people think that that's a cut down, a slur, but no. I want you guys to be entertained the way you want to be entertained. So that's why I carry thousands of songs. Now, back when I first started and it was records, yeah, I was limited. Maybe I can carry 100 records in a crate. Maybe, when I was first starting, maybe it was 50 records in a crate because I was limited. Here I was, a little kid with my little radio flyer wagon. I had my record player and a few records, and I would take it to one of the kids down the street's house, and I would be the guy playing the records. And some people would say, "Hey, do you have that new record?" I would like, well, sometimes I would, because I had a really good relationship with the record store owner. Man, I'm recalling things that I used to do. I used to go to this little corner. All right, when I was in high school in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, they're in on Pine Island and State Road 84, if I'm not mistaken. And people that in Fort Lauderdale will know this corner. There was a corner that had a movie theater, and there was a video game parlor. This is back in 85, 86, even before I became a professional DJ, when I was just a little tiny baby DJ. 85, 86, I had a there was a corner that had they had a video game parlor. It was called McSugars. I remember that. And they had video games and of course foods, hot dogs and pizzas and stuff like that. But right next door to that was a record store. And for the life of me, I cannot remember what the name of the record store was. But every time I pulled in, that record store owner would see me coming because he knew all the money that I made washing dishes at Garcia's Mexican restaurant or at Swenson's ice cream parlor when I was working there. That was in my high school days. And even Kentucky Fried Chicken. I worked there for a while in my high school days. Was I working at Publix grocery stores? Anyway, I worked a lot to make sure that I had the money that I wanted to do the things that I wanted. Hey, there's another thing, another avenue to explore. These kids today, they don't know work ethic. No, if you want something, you work for it. Well, anyway, I got to that corner, and man, that record store owner would see me coming and says, "Hey, I got some new beats for you. Check this out. I got this." And back then, we would get our record albums, and sometimes CDs were first starting out. And yes, in 85, 86, I did spend the $700 it took to get a CD player in the car. Ooh, big time. That was the big time. Let me tell you, it was a CD player, the Discman by Sony, and it was. I mean, any bump that you hit, forget it. You were throwing that CD. That that song was stuttering more than I am stuttering right now thinking about it. Yeah. Oh man, reminiscing, taking me down memory lane. Now, yeah, I'm doing this while I'm waiting for phone calls. If people want to call in, 501-470-6386 is the number you need to call, and then you can be a part of the show. How about that? You know what? I have the Skype set up. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I'll set up the Skype, and I can even pump that in there too. So if you want to call me on Skype, just find me, KeysDAN. Pretty easy. I'll put that in there. Now I won't do any video Skype at this point because it'll mess up the video that I'm doing right here. I know that eventually I will be able to throw the Skype where I have the advertising there, but that's coming up soon. Making the Keys Dan show the best it can be. Anyway, I'll take you back to my story. I'll reminisce with myself, talk to myself. If you put comments in, they'll be up there forever and ever. I'll throw them up on that video. Now, the people that are listening to the audio version of the Keys Dan Show podcast, I do have the video version on my YouTube at Keys Dan. I think the header says radiowhat.com. So if you look it up at Keys Dan or radiowhat.com, you'll find the videos out there. So back to my story, 1985, 1986, when I'm buying records there and making sure that I had the freshest beats. So that corner, man, I spent a lot of my time on that corner. We're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Well, I guess officially, was it Pine Island? Was it? Hmm. Maybe it was Davie. Maybe it was portions of Davie. That place has changed so much. I know that where I used to live used to be called unincorporated Broward, but we had a Fort Lauderdale address. But now it's called Sunshine Ranches out there on Griffin Road and US 27th. I think I was out there pretty close to US 27th and Griffin Road. Oh man. So reminiscing with people that have no idea what I'm talking about. But, I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about on the Keys Dan show, on this FB Live, on this Sunday evening. Sunday. I do like talking into microphones, and I like talking to people into microphones, which is why I started the What Makes You Famous podcast, so I can chat with people and promote people. It's people helping people. I think I've said that many times on this podcast as well. I when I got into broadcasting back, well, I guess 86 was probably my first foray into broadcasting. Probably my first job that I got paid for was a wedding in 1986. I didn't get paid much. I'll tell you, it was $50. I got $50 to do a wedding, and I didn't have a lot of equipment. All I had was a few records and such. So I had to rent most of my equipment from the local guitar center there in was it Fort Lauderdale, Florida, uh, and I rented. I think I rented the equipment for $75, but I only got paid $50. So I think I lost money on that one, but it was so much fun and such an experience. And that's my first foray into professional mobile DJing, 1986. Am I getting too old for this? I don't know. Maybe. Every time I go do a show, like I said, I'm nervous. Like I said in the beginning of this conversation, I'm nervous to do the show. I want to make sure that it's the best show that it can possibly be. But once I set up the show, once I set up my speakers and my lights and my microphones, and and set up I have little television sets set up now, so I can put pick videos up. I can make it a video dance party and even a karaoke jam at your next event, and it's just gotten better and better and better. And every year I'm adding more equipment and making sure that it's the best equipment, the best speakers that I can have. I use the Mackie speakers, the V3s. I think I have the V2s and the V3s, and the and I'm kind of up in the air on whether the Mackie V2s are better than the Mackie V3s, even though their wattage is a little bit less, but their sound is second to none. I know JBL is in there as well. I might um, look at the JBLs next time I need an upgrade, but my Mackeys have been doing very well. And I think I started out using Yamahas. I was really into the Yamahas, but they're so heavy. They're the reason that they sound so good is their cabinets are made of wood. I think they started using particle wood after a while, and they didn't sound as good. But yeah, my Mackeys hard plastic, and they're durable and they sound great. All right, party people. Well, I've been chit chatting your ear off. If you want to give me a call at 501-470-6386, that's great. I'm guessing. What are you doing on this Memorial Day weekend? Is everybody having a long weekend? Are you stuck indoors, or are you venturing outside? Are you doing the thing that you naughty little minx? You're out there doing stuff when you're not supposed to be doing stuff because daddy government said don't do stuff. But the scientists, I mean, like I said, there's scientists out there, very smart, and they're telling us to be vigilant, be cautious, stay away from each other until they find some kind of a treatment and or a cure for the novel COVID-19 coronavirus. Yeah. Well, I won't dwell too much on the virus unless that's what you want to talk about. It's it's a thing that's going on. It's something that we're dealing with, and as humans, we will prevail. It's not going to get us all. I tell you, it's not going to get us all. And I'm listening to I was listening to a podcast about what's going on in Sweden, and was Sweden doing it the right way? Did Sweden do it all right? Because their idea was to keep the sick people and the old people at home, and everybody else business as usual. Leave the restaurants open, leave the movie theaters open, leave all the public gatherings open. And they did. It wasn't completely open. They did have social guidelines. They did give you the guidelines that the CDC put up, and they told you follow them, don't follow them, whatever. Oh, I'm getting a call here. Let's see. California, valid number. Let's see who it is.
Thank you.
KeysDAN show, you're on the air. Who is this?
This is Poppy 3K.
Poppy PK?
Look, 3K.
Poppy,
am I live?
Yes, you're live on the KeysDAN show right now. FB live, as it were.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
The pleasure's all mine. I think we have a full podcast on the What Makes You Famous coming up real soon, don't we?
I think we do. I was just contacting you about that. When do you want to actually go ahead and set that up?
Well, I mean, I'll send you some dates in just a little bit, but while we're live, I mean, I'm sitting here on FB live. I'm doing this on Sunday nights. The KeysDAN show. This is not the What Makes You Famous podcast, but it certainly is a podcast of sorts. So your voice is immortalized forever and ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How many people do you have here?
Oh, I don't know. Whoever's listening to FB, and then when I put it up as a video on YouTube, could be millions and millions. So
No, that's awesome.
it's potentially whoever. So what's going on in your neck of the woods? Where are you located at there in California?
I'm in Fresno right now.
Fresno.
Fresno, California, the Central Valley.
Yeah. So tell me.
That's where you're from.
Well, I'm here in Conway, Arkansas, just 30 minutes
Arkansas.
north of Little Rock. I'm born and raised in Miami, but as we speak right now, I'm in Conway, Arkansas, and so far so good. As far as Arkansas is concerned, I don't know that we feel too much of the lockdown, and it's not like what we hear about California, where 40.5 million people are stuck indoors unless they need to go out grocery shopping. How's it been for you?
I mean, it's still kind of the same kind of thing. I mean, you can't shop without wearing a mask. It's kind of still hectic. I mean, malls are starting to open. I think we got our malls opening on sometime next week, so things are opening back up. Uh, but it's just not. It's not the same.
Still,
I mean, as far as that, I'm just working on music myself, though. That's
oh,
where my mind's at.
that's cool, man. See, that's what creators, man. You can't lock them down because their mind is a big palace. Creators got to create. So, what kind of music are you putting together?
I'm making rap music. I mean, I'm working on a new project. Actually, it's called Alejandria. I'm on Spotify, I'm on SoundCloud, YouTube, everything. But Alejandria, I'm dropping in 2 weeks. I just recently dropped a music video. It's on YouTube. It's Armored McKenna. If you check it out, it's under Poppy 3K Music. Uh, but yeah, just making music. Alejandria is coming out in 2 weeks. I'm working on some new sounds. It's dark, kind of experimental, alternative. Like, it's gonna be a new project, be a new sound.
Man, that's excellent, Poppy 3K. I'm so glad you called in, man. And just to give the people a little idea of the social media, and a little bit later, I'll send you some dates. I think the next dates I have available are like in September, or even September or October. But I'll send you some dates. But give the people an idea of what's your website and tell them where to go.
Definitely. You guys can check me out on Instagram at Poppy3K. Also on Twitter, Poppy3K or Poppy3K Music. Uh, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere.
Well, I'm so stoked to get your life story, man, on the What Makes You Famous podcast. Hey, text me your name and I will text you back, and probably in the next hour or so, okay?
Likewise. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Poppy 3K. Oh man, that's great. That's great. I love it. People calling in, and he was calling in because I invited him to do the What Makes You Famous podcast to tell his story, and he called in at this particular moment. Didn't know I was doing an FB live, which I've been doing 6 p.m. Central Time. But it's great, man. It's great. That once again, that's people helping people. Poppy 3K, look him up and find out more about his project. I look forward to it. It's always a gas to me whenever I talk to people on these podcasts. Is their stories? Everybody has a story. If you're more than 1 day old, you've had life experience. You have a story. And if you're more than 5 years old, you get to you probably have the ability, well, for the most part, the ability to talk that story out, to get that story out in some way, whether it's talking or sign language or typing or something. There's some way for you to get that experience out there. And I invite folks, from as soon as they feel that they're that they want to come out and tell their story at 501-470-6386. Or if you want, you can email me at info@radiowhat.com. Info@radiowhat.com. I don't know. Maybe I should do some of the podcasts like when I used to Ralph on the radio when I was the first as the first time I was broadcasting. Hey everybody, how you doing? Yeah. I think back then when I first started on the radio, it was Dancing Danny G. That was the first thing I could come up with. I don't even know if there's any recordings of me. If there's anybody in South Florida when I was first doing radio, if there's anybody that happened to be recording a mixtape and my voice got on their mixtape somehow, Dancing Danny G coming to you live and in living color. If there's anyone, I implore you, now that we have this internet, and I think the internet's going to be big. These kids with their computers, I think eventually they're going to catch on, uh, and their recording devices. I'll tell you, eventually they're going to catch on. It's going to skyrocket. It is, I tell you. No, but if you have happen to have any recordings, and this is me being real egotistical, and like somebody over 30 years ago kept a recording of mine as dancing Danny G in South Florida on the radio. Anyone? Anyone at all? Anybody? I wish I had those recordings, man. The first days as I was broadcasting, and I was so nervous, and I still get nervous, man. I've told you that in the beginning. That's almost the theme of the show is, do I get nervous before every show? Of course you do. You never let them see you sweat, though. That's right. You pretend like everything's going just fine. You got your telephone that was sitting way over there on the other side of the room when you first start the show, and this telephone was supposed to be hooked up to Bluetooth that's on that board over there. Yeah, and I didn't have that, so I had to take about 5 seconds to go over there, get my phone, bring it back over here. So yeah, but people listening to the audio portion of the show would never know that I was gone for 5 or 10 seconds, because I'll cut that silence out. Through the power of technology, I've learned how to edit over the years, so my broadcasting skills have gotten better and better and better. My talking skills, maybe not so much. I still I like talking to people, and that's when I do the podcast by myself, it's not quite as good as when I'm doing it with someone else. I've already figured that out, man, and that's why people need people. We are social creatures. We need to bounce ideas off each other so we can innovate. If you're a scientist stuck by yourself in a room all alone with no outside, inspiration, how are you going to create anything? You're going to be creating things that have already been created. Hey, look, I invented a wheel. That's already been invented, Bob. Hey, look, it's fire. I created fire. It's already been invented, Sally. Sorry, you need to know what inventions are out there. You have to have to be able to bounce ideas from people, to innovate, to become better, to become so much better. Oh man, it's nice. It's nice talking to people, and I'm glad that Pop 3K showed up, and he wasn't even expecting to be on the air tonight on the KeysDAN show. He's going to be on the What Makes You Famous podcast coming up real soon. Yeah, I'm stoked about that. Well, all right. I have the 10 things you need to know today, and I guess I can go through those talking points while I wait for people to call 501-470-6386. And the nice thing about podcasts, you can do whatever you want on your podcast. How about that? If people like it, they listen. If they don't like it, they don't listen. But you had a good time. This portion of my day, when I get on and talk to you or do a podcast, it's me taking myself away from my family that gets annoyed at me. And I think that I spend nowadays, especially, spending too much time with them. And I know that they say, "Oh, you need to spend more time with me. You need to spend more time with us." And when I do spend time with them, I annoy them. So I take myself away for a little bit, give themselves a little breather, let them be by themselves for a little bit. Everybody needs their little space. But you know what I love is getting back together with the fam. And I do realize that there's people out there that are quarantined all by themselves. And I hope that they have at least social media, at least, once a day somebody calls and checks in on them. It's those people that I worry about the most. The ones that are living alone, that don't have anybody to talk to. And hey, if you don't have anybody to talk to, you talk to me. If you don't want to talk on the Keys Dan show, that's fine. You give me a call afterwards. I'll talk to you. Leave me a message. I'll call you back. More often than not, I will call you back, unless you're sounding too crazy. No, I like talking to crazy people. Crazy people got ideas. Crazy, and I use crazy in a very loving way. Okay, crazy. I know that people have mental health issues, and I hope that they're getting the care that they need. But crazy's fun. Crazy. Crazy is the guy on the bus, man, that's giving you something to talk about. Hey, look at that. That's pretty fun. I need to talk about that for Thanksgivings to come. Did I ever tell you about that guy on the airplane? Did I ever tell you about that guy on the sidewalk? Did I ever tell you about that guy in the park? Oh, did I ever tell you about that girl that did that? Yeah. I like when people do weird, funny stuff. That's the stuff that sticks in your head and makes you. If I were a songwriter, I'd write a song about it. If I were a comedian, I'd write a joke about it. I mean, it's just it's what creators need, is that those experiences, those people that are out there. You need to have those life experiences if you're going to create. Yeah. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, unless you've been living under a rock. And if you have been living under a rock, then hey, more power to you. Get out from under that rock and come join us and have a good time with the rest of the people. 10 things you need to know today. Now, this is a podcast that I do. I'm running 3 podcasts now. It's taking a lot of time and talking into microphones. If people listen, hey, that's great. If people don't listen, hey, that's great too. I put it out there. Hopefully, it entertains somebody. 10 things you need to know today. And this is Sunday, May 24th, 2020. Number 1. Americans head outdoors for Memorial Day weekend during pandemic. Holiday travelers headed to the beach and elsewhere Saturday for Memorial Day weekend amid the coronavirus pandemic as the country nears 100,000 deaths related to the virus. Some places became so crowded they had to shut down, though there were also some surprise openings of outdoor sites like South Dakota's Mount Rushmore National Memorial, which wasn't expected to allow visitors so soon. In New York, which has achieved a sustained decline in new infections and deaths, Governor Andrew Cuomo, Democrat, said he would allow up to 10 people to gather for non essential activities, provided they adhere to social distancing guidelines. President Trump, meanwhile, took to the golf course for the first time in more than 70 days Saturday. That's according to Reuters and USA Today. All right, yeah, Memorial Day weekend. And, a lot of people have a long weekend. If they're not in retail or food service, they're taking a lot of time off for the weekend and spending some time out with their family and friends. And this is the usual time. This time last year, most people are at barbecues and having a good time. That's the American way. I know Memorial Day. Now, that's another thing. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. Central Time, I'll be doing another one of these FB Lives. I know I've usually been doing them on Sundays, but tomorrow I want to do a special one where people call in and talk about the soldiers that they've lost, the people in the armed forces that they've lost. That's what Memorial Day is about. I'll get into a little bit about what Memorial Day is about tomorrow on the KeysDAN show. I'll record another one of these FB Lives. So if you want to come join me tomorrow, the May 25th, Monday, May 25th, Memorial Day 2020, and you can be a part of the show there. You can call in and tell me about the various people in your lives, family and friends that have been lost in their in the service of their country. And this is an American holiday, but I mean, you could talk about. I mean, I know this goes out worldwide, so you can talk about the family members that you've lost. I wish we didn't have to lose anybody on Memorial Day, but I know I'm probably going to repeat that tomorrow. Man, I wish that the armed services weren't needed for anything else, but building people up. I wish the armed forces were a bunch of guys and gals that we'd send around the world to help with their infrastructure. That's what I think that would be made better use. People that are fighting are generally don't have it as well as we do here in the United States of America. And the first world countries. I don't even know what a first world country is. Maybe I'll look that up after I'm done here and find out what a first world country is. I've never even heard of a second world country. I know that the United States is a first world country, and people complain, "Oh, my latte was too cold." That's a first world problem. I know that there was a hashtag first world problem. But there's third world countries. I've never heard of a second world country. What's a second world country? Maybe somebody has the answer to that. You can call me. You can tell me. You can school me. I know that I have plenty of room up in this noggin for more knowledge, and that's what I do. Is I I drain the knowledge from people. And when I talk to them, I suck the knowledge from them, and I get their knowledge and I add it to my own knowledge. And that's the collective that gets into my head. How about that? Oh my goodness. I crack myself up. Why do I crack myself up? I don't know. It's Memorial Day weekend. I'm having a good time. It's Sunday night. Sunday. FB Live. Now, I record this FB Live and then I put it out as an audio podcast. So you'll be a part of it forever and ever. And I'll put it out as a video podcast as well, because the software that I'm using, it saves the podcast for me, saves the video, saves the audio. Isn't that cool? Technology, man, this stuff's great. I'd need so much equipment back in the day, and I know that that's another statement that I don't, another colloquialism that I don't use that often. Back in the day, what day? Yesterday? My day? What's your day? I guess my day would be back in the 80s. Back in the day, I'd need a camera. I'd need, an audio guy. I need a sound engineer, a video engineer, a camera operator. But here I could do it all by myself. See? And if I had to go somewhere, if I had to step away, I'd go, be right back, and hit this screen. And then I would go, and we're back. For those on the audio portion of the podcast, they're wondering, what was I doing? I was switching screens. I have a way to where I could switch from a screen that shows me, and then one screen that shows like a test pattern. And, remember that old test pattern? For those people of a certain age, you'll remember that old test pattern that had the picture of the Native American up on the top there, and that circle. And I can't even remember what it looked like now that I'm not looking at it. Oh yeah, it said, "Please stand by," and there was a picture of a Native American, an Indian fellow with a big headdress, looking very prominent at the top, and it would say, "Please stand by." And usually that was the test pattern that came after the one of the three major networks would go off the air. All right, you kids, you're going to get a tiny little lesson on TV when I was a kid back in the 70s. And I was a little kid. I was born in 1969. I'm 51 years old. So in the 70s, I remember, and this wasn't very often because my bedtime was pretty early. And, back then I was parented pretty well. My bedtime was probably 8 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock on the weekends. But every so often, I'd get to stay up till past midnight. And most of the TV stations would kick off past midnight, and they would probably do the national anthem of the United States. At least that's the way it was here in the United States. I don't know how it was in other countries. They would play the national anthem either on ABC, NBC, or CBS. Those are the three stations that I remember. And I remember UHF. They had a couple of stations here and there, but for the most part, it's the big three stations that they'd play the national anthem and then go off the air. And for the rest of the night, they'd have a test pattern or snow, nothing, and they'd use that test pattern if for some technical difficulty they would go off the air. They would put that little test pattern up. Yeah. Who remembers that? You can call me. You can, hey, if you want, you could just drop a message on my FB Live and let me know. Hey, do you remember that? You remember that? You remember that stuff? I did get one message on the FB Live just before I started, and I know the FB Live comments will show up right there in the top there, and they'll live on forever and ever on my YouTube video, on my YouTube page. And Jay Gordon, before I officially started the show, he said, "Have a great show, brother." Jay Gordon. He was on a recent podcast, the What Makes You Famous podcast. And if you haven't listened, man, hopefully the shows are getting better and better. Originally, the What Makes You Famous podcast, I was putting them on a regular board that really wasn't made to pipe in phone calls. And there were a few pops and hisses here and there. So the sound quality wasn't so good. I always had a pretty decent microphone. I did just step up to the pod mics. I had the Shure SM100s that I was using Is that what it was? Yeah, I think it was the Shure SM100s that I was using, and they sound pretty good if you use them properly. And I was running them through a Yamaha board, not a Behringer board. Nope, that one I got rid of. So I'm running them through a Yamaha board, and then I'd plug the phone into one of the inputs, and it would get pops and clicks here and there. But thankfully, hey, I spent a couple bucks. I got the new board. It sounds so much better. This one is made for podcasting. It's made for broadcasting. It's got the little soundboard that gives you little sound effects here and there. And yeah, that's cool, man. And it makes my sound so much better. And for the listener, it makes that so much better as well. And I know that the sound quality is probably going to be a little bit different because I'm going to take the audio from the FB Live rather than the audio from the the Rodecaster Pro. I think that's what it's called. I keep calling it different things. Rodecaster Pro, Rode Procaster, Rode whatever. I'm very happy with my investment. I did when I got away from the Yamaha mixer and I stepped up into like a portable H4n Pro by Zoom, and not to be confused with the Zoom broadcasting, the Zoom that people are using for meetings. Zoom is also the name of a company that makes recording equipment and various other things. Well, I used a Zoom handheld that you can plug in a couple of microphones underneath. Well, I plug in the Shure 100 on one side, and I'd plug the phone on the other side, and that sounded pretty good. Some of those podcasts sounded really good, like it was a full studio. So I'm pretty proud of those. Now that, thankfully, I still have that Zoom. So if I needed to do a remote podcast, say somebody was here in the Arkansas area, somewhere in Central Arkansas, I would much rather come to you. If you're taking the time out of your day to give me content, I will come to you to set up your living room, your dining room, your garage, your front porch as a recording studio. And those sound pretty good as well, using that little piece of audio equipment. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. See, and people go, well, how much is it to be on the What Makes You Famous podcast? And I go, well, right now it's nothing. I mean, you're giving me content and I give you promotion. I give you the chance to tell your story on the What Makes You Famous podcast. So people have asked me, oh, how much is it? And I go, oh, I think right now we're helping each other. You're giving me someone to talk to. You're letting me pick your brain for knowledge. And, I get to put that out to the world. How about that? Kind of fun, kind of neat. And it's mutually beneficial. I do have the 10 things you need to know today, sitting here in front of me, my little talking points. So I have 10 things you need to know today. Number 2, Hong Kong protests gain momentum again. The largest pro-democracy, anti-government protest since COVID-19 lockdowns began took place Sunday in Hong Kong, just days after China signaled it planned to directly impose national security laws on the city. The demonstrators believe Beijing's plan to bypass Hong Kong's local government and legislature violated the quote, one country, two systems, end quote, agreement it signed with the United Kingdom during a territorial exchange in 1997. China has denied the move will affect Hong Kong's autonomy, but many of the protesters now believe independence, considered a red line by Beijing, is the only way forward. During the rally, riot police fired tear gas on the crowd for the first time in weeks. This is according to the Wall Street Journal and Reuters. Let's think about that last line. Hey, police fired tear gas on the crowd for the first time in weeks. How about living in a place where you get tear gassed often enough to where they say, hey, that's the first time we did it in weeks? And I know that Hong Kong is, China has been trying to take control of Hong Kong ever since they gave the United Kingdom gave the independence to Hong Kong because of their proximity. And Hong Kong, they they were having a good time. They were living their own lives. The people of Hong Kong, as far as I know, have their own government system, and they don't want to be governed by anybody else. They think they're doing just fine, and why not let them live? But China, They want the resources that Hong Kong has, which is partially innovative. I know that a lot of the toys and things that I've had throughout my life have had the label made in Hong Kong. So obviously, the people of Hong Kong got some skills. They got some skills to pay the bills. So, yeah, a lot of trouble out there. See, and once again, this is like, just get along, people. All right. Do I believe in a one world? I don't know that. Do I believe that the border should be open? That governments uh, should have a small control over people, or just give out some rules? Should there be no government? No way, no how. People need rules. We crazy. We left to our own demise. We're gonna cause trouble in the streets. Do I want to be a full libertarian? No way, no how. That's anarchy. You need to have some kind of rules. You need to have some kind of government, somebody policing. But who makes those rules? I kind of like the government that we have here in the United States. It's supposed to be the people ruling. We, the people, we're ruling, right? Are we? I don't know. The government gets bigger and bigger. And from what I remember from civics in the 10th grade, back in 1984, when I was in 10th grade civics, I remember the Republicans were small government and big on business, right? And then the Democrats were big government and big on people. So I don't know. I think that's changed over the years as we give up our freedoms, and as we live in fear. 2001 was a turning point. I know that we've lost some freedoms here and there before that, but 2001, September 11th, 2001, that was a turning point. And I think history will definitely show, and it has shown already, that we gave up a lot of freedoms due to that terrorist act on that fateful day, 9/11. So yeah, are we losing freedoms with the Freedom of Information Act, where the government can nose in whenever they need to, whenever they deem necessary, and we never gave that freedom back? No matter, are we letting our freedoms slip away again? And I don't know enough about it. And if you're getting your news from me, don't. I'm purely reading things that are here in front of me from news sources that I believe, and this is me. And once again, that word "I believe" or "I think," when you hear that in a podcast or on a news report, whenever I'm doing the "What Makes You Smarter" podcast, and that's where I really just cut and dry, read the news, 10 things you need to know today. And I give you subjects. If you look up "What Makes You Smarter," hashtag "What Makes You Smarter," you'll find my other podcast, and you'll see, when I read the news, it's very cut and dry. I don't editorialize like I'm doing right now. This is the Keys Dan show. This is my all encompassing show. This is the show where you get to hear a few of my viewpoints, whether you like them or not. Hopefully, you like the sound of my voice. Hopefully, I'm making some sense. I take a am I Republican? Am I Democrat? You know, I take a little from column A and a little from column B, and we all have a meal right here down the middle. I'm not far right and I'm not far left. I believe in a lot of things here and there. So I'm all over the place in that respect. And from what I understand, from what I believe, talking to people, I think I'm right down the middle where most of the people live. You don't have to believe in all the the beliefs. Oh, Democrats believe this, and the Republicans believe that. So if you're a Democrat, you have to believe all of this and none of that. And if you're a Republican, you have to believe all of this and none of that. And I don't believe it's cut and dry like that. I believe there's more nuance to it. I believe that there's more to it than just that left and right. There's not two parties. It's people. We all want pretty much the same things. My goodness. But where did I get off on this rant? I don't know. That's prone to happen here on the Keys Dan Show portion of the podcast. If you want more cut and dry, listen to the What Makes You Smarter. I don't really editorialize on that one. Mostly that's me finding a subject and reading about it. Now, daily, I've been doing the 10 things you need to know today on the What Makes You Smarter podcast. But if there's a subject that I find interesting and I want to learn more about it, might as well crack this mic open, put it on recording. I keep wanting to say put it on tape. I'm an old man, but put it on this digital recording device in front of me, and put it out to the world. And if somebody wants to look up that subject and they want to hear me rattle on about it, I'll find some kind of a news source that I think is is relevant, and I'll put it out to the world. It's exciting. It's exciting for me that you've taken the time to listen to my voice, listen to me ramble on. So I record this on Sunday nights, 6 p.m. Central Time on FB Live. You can look me up, KeysDAN, KeysDAN. KeysDAN, you're living in Arkansas now. Why do you still keep the monogram from the Florida Keys? Well, because I have over 1 million pages on my website, and I'm not giving it up. I did buy the domain DJLittleRock.com. So if you do need DJ services, hey, please, DJLittleRock.com. And I do travel around this state, and I have the privilege and the honor to entertain people. And once again, I'm nervous before every show. But after every show, I go, most of the time, I'll say, why was I so nervous? That went just fine. The people are happy, and I always get a picture with whoever the guest of honor is, be it the bride and groom or the birthday boy or the company. I try to, you know what? I've been doing that. It is during every show, I try to get a good group picture so people have an idea of who was there. If the photographer that's there doesn't set up a group picture, that's one thing that I've been doing probably over the last 15 of the 30 years. Oh my goodness, has it been 30 years? 86, 96, 2006. Okay, almost. It's been 30 years. It's been more than 30 years I've been DJing, and I'm getting old. Oh my goodness. So it's been more than 30 years I've been DJing, but for the last at least 15, 20 years, I've been getting people together at some point of the night so they can get a group picture, and there will be an accountability of who was there. That way, when you look at that picture, it'll remind you of that event. Oh yeah, I remember that event. That was a good one. Oh, I forgot he was there. Oh, look at that. She was there too. You're right. There she was, right there in the front. Look at that. Oh, there he was, right there in the back. It's good. It's good to have those pictures. Pictures help you with your memories. Oh, I think that was a line in Time Cop with John Claude Van Damme. What? Oh, John, I'm looking through movies trying to figure out what to watch. And I know during this coronavirus quarantine, people are watching different things on their streaming and television. Does anybody watch TV anymore? Is it all streaming? It's all streaming for me. And so I was looking through, trying to scan through what movies to watch, and I was looking at the John Claude Van Damme movie, No Retreat, No Surrender. That movie affected me forever and ever. 1986, John Claude Van Damme's first American movie. He barely spoke English, so he played a character called Ivan the Russian. And if you're looking at IMDb reviews, that's probably one of the handful of IMDb reviews that I took the time to make, was the review for No Retreat, No Surrender, John Claude Van Damme's first American movie. Yeah. Jam it, slam it, John Claude Van Damme it. Bam. How did I get off on John Claude Van Damme? Oh yeah, that's right. Time Cop. Yeah. I think there was a little kid that was taking pictures, and this picture came to be very important in the future. For those of you who haven't seen Time Cop, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but there was a little kid that came up to one of the characters and said, "Pictures help save your memories," and took a picture of them. So there, and yeah, that's part of the show. A little throwaway line there, and pictures do help you save your memories. So, all those people that are out there thinking, should I get a photographer for this event? Yeah, you should. You should get a photographer for this event. A photographer is a very important part of the event. If it's a very informal event, should you get a professional photographer? Well, that's up to you. That's up to your budget. Should you do that? That's up to your budget. At least have somebody with a camera that could record said event. And if it's a very special event that you want to remember forever and ever, such as a wedding or an anniversary or a birthday party for a little kid, yeah, have somebody that you could trust with a camera. All right, be right back in a second. All right, we're back. Those of you listening to the audio portion of that, you won't even know how long I was gone. I was gone for like 5 seconds. So I took the video portion of the screen away on the KeysDAN show. The KeysDAN show. I need a new theme for the KeysDAN show. You might hear jokes. You might learn stuff. You never know what you're going to get on the KeysDAN show. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. Why did I just re-sing the theme? I don't know. Maybe one day somebody will put that theme to music. Somebody will take the audio portion of that. Now, and that was up at the top of the program. I do have that same theme. Somebody will take that audio and put music to it. One of my more talented friends out there, I invite you, and I will give you full credit that you did it. Will I give you money? Probably not. You will get no money. Will I give you a gift? The gift of my deep admiration. That's what I will give you. So if you take the audio portion, you make it into an actual theme. Hey man, I'll put it up there. If you come up with your own theme, hey, maybe I'll be that kind of a podcast. I know that there's some podcast How Did This Get Made? They use different themes that people make and throw up there. And I know that there's a Comedy Bang Bang. They'll invite people to give them catchphrases. So yeah, go ahead, do that. I invite you, man. If you want to make my podcast better, you could do it. You could definitely do it. And send it to me at info@radiowhat.com. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'd appreciate that so much. Take my little audio and mix it up. You mix masters out there, you audio engineers, you musicians, put it to piccolo or kazoo. I think I mentioned kazoo in the beginning of this program. Put it to that instrument that you so lovingly learned how to play, and I'll be very appreciative. There you go, and I will give you credit for the theme. Thank you. All right, I do have the 10 things you need to know today sitting here in front of me. I've been talking your ear off for an hour now. And if you want to give me a call, 501-470-6386. Hey, I'll put you in. I'll pipe you through. You can be a part of the KeysDAN show for people that like to listen to the sound of my voice. I do have my half and half tea here. Call that an Arnold Palmer. Half lemonade, half iced tea. I don't think that's officially the ratio in an official Arnold Palmer. It might be more 3/4 lemonade. I mean 3/4 iced tea and 1/4 lemonade. But I do half and half because it's just easier. I use the little Crystal Light packets. It's not real lemonade. It's the powdered lemonade and powdered tea, and I mix one little batch of that, and make myself a little half gallon of half and half. Delicious. You get to listen to a little ASMR during this portion of the show while I drink next to the microphone. That's something I wouldn't do at the terrestrial radio station that I worked at, is eat and drink real close to the electronic equipment. And I still don't do that. When I'm out there mobile DJing, I don't drink next to my equipment. And I expect anyone that's coming up to me asking for a song to do the same. Keep that drink away from me. This equipment is expensive. And let me tell you, to replace it, I don't have the funds for that. So it starts to get real expensive. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast or this show, is once you get into it, you start spending more and more money to make it sound better and better as time progresses. All right, and then let me skim through or get through the 10 things you need to know today for anyone that wants to know anything today. And this is something that I do on the What Makes You Smarter podcast. Number 3, Wuhan lab director says coronavirus origin theory is pure fabrication. Wang Yanyi The director of the Wuhan Institute of Virology told Chinese state media Sunday the lab was working on 3 live strains of bat virus, but the closest genetic match to the virus that causes COVID 19 and sparked a global health crisis was only 79.8%. Therefore, Wang said claims by the likes of President Trump and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo that the virus may have escaped from the facility are, quote, pure fabrication, end quote. As tensions between the U.S. and China have heightened since the outbreak, Trump and Pompeo have leaned into the lab origin theory, but the scientific consensus remains that the pathogen was passed from bats to humans through an intermediary species at a wet market in Wuhan last year, although it's becoming more challenging to pinpoint the animal. This is according to The Guardian and Politico. I don't know the story. I don't know the full story. All I know is what's here in front of me. I have to trust The Guardian and Politico that they're reporting the news properly. And can you, and we as Americans were so suspicious of the Chinese because, as far as I know, I don't know firsthand, as far as I know, the Chinese government controls all the media in their region, which is their right. They can run their government any way they want. Do we like the way they do it? Do I like the way they do it? All I can do is speak for myself. No, no. I don't want the government to run the media. Does the government run the media here in the United States? I think the studies are still out. Some people would say yes, that the government runs this portion of the media, the Republicans run that portion, the Democrats run that portion. I mean, there's always the battle between Fox News and CNN. You got to, me as someone who has a thirst for knowledge that wants to learn all sides of the story. And why are there so many sides of a story? Shouldn't there just be one story? Yeah, there should be. But people have different aspects, have different takes on different stories. So if you watch Fox News for an hour, make sure you balance it out with CNN's news for an hour. And why do I say that? Because Fox News has been traditionally now, is it owned by the Republicans, or do they favor the Republicans? Yeah, that's that's what I hear. That's what I see. And then CNN, just the other side of the fence. Are they favored by the Democrats? Do they favor the Democrats? Yeah, I mean that's what I see. That's what I hear, and that's what I look at. So whether it's true or not, I watch both sides of the story. I look for a report from there, and then hey, what's that take on the other side? Fair and balanced. I think that's the key, the tagline for one or both of those news outlets. And I use news very loosely because it's really entertainment news now. It's not it's sensationalized. They'll pick something, they want clickbait. Yeah, I could be clickbaity. I mean, right here on this video, I could just be hitting myself with pies in the face and maybe get more views. But that's not where I'm at. That's not what I'm about. And the nice thing about podcasts, like I said in the beginning, is you can say whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, whatever you feel is what you put out there, and hopefully, hey, you'll find somebody that likes the sound of your voice and likes what you have to say. And I don't want to be somebody's confirmation bias. I want to have the knowledge that I'm stating the facts as I see them, as I know them. But I'm not a news podcast by any means. I think I had to pick a category for my podcast, and they had entertainment, they had music, they had stuff like that. But I put education because I'm learning. I'm trying to fill my head with knowledge. So in turn, you're learning if you're on this journey with me. How about that? So that's the category that I picked for the What Makes You Famous and the What Makes You Smarter and the KeysDAN Show podcast. So there you go. Number 4 on the 10 things you need to know today. Spain plans to open foreign tourists. Spain plans to open to foreign tourists in July. Spain is hoping to salvage as much of its tourism industry as possible as it emerges from coronavirus lockdown. Prime Minister Pedro, I know I said it. I said it that way. No, Pedro Sanchez said Saturday that the country will reopen to overseas visitor visitors starting July 2nd. He encouraged the people to begin planning their vacations, though he said safety measures will be in place to protect both tourists and Spanish residents from infection. Quote, we will guarantee that tourists will not run any risk, nor will they bring any risk to our country, end quote, he said. The prime minister also gave Spain's top professional soccer league, known as La Liga, permission to return June 8th. There have been 290 confirmed coronavirus cases and 28,678 COVID 19 deaths in Spain, but the daily infection and fatality rates have steadily declined since the country went into strict lockdown in March. That's according to The Guardian and ESPN. Now, the one statement that I ran into, and hopefully, hopefully he's getting quoted properly, is President Pedro Sanchez. He said, "We will guarantee that tourists will not run any risks, nor will they bring any risk to our country." How can you guarantee that? Really? I mean, how can you guarantee that? Whether it be the flu or a common cold, how can you guarantee that? Come on, really? All right. Hopefully that. I mean that. Hey, people say dumb things all the time. I'll say dumb things on this podcast. Why am I doing a live show? I mean, I can't even edit this, and I'm not gonna edit this. I don't like editing things. Why am I doing a live show? Because I have nothing to hide, and I like doing these things. I just discovered the Facebook Live over the last couple of months. So I never did an FB live before, and here I am. Probably was it week number 4, week number 5. I'm doing an FB live on Sunday night. I think I did one. I'm going to try to do these more uh, regularly. Rather than doing one at 3 o'clock and one at 2 o'clock and one at 5 o'clock and one at I'll do them at 6 p.m. Central Time. Now tomorrow is a little bit different. I'll do one for Memorial Day at 3 p.m. Central Time. So I'm kind of stoked to talk to people, and keep the memories of people alive, the people that served in the armed forces. That's what Memorial Day is all about. Yeah. So I'll do that tomorrow. All right, number 5 on the 10 things you need to know today. And the Taliban announces 3-day Eid. I hope that's pronounced correctly. EID ceasefire. Eid. I'm going to say Eid. If somebody has a different pronunciation, give me a call. 501-470-6386. The Taliban announced a 3-day ceasefire with the Afghan government that will take effect when the Muslim festival of Eid al-Fitr begins Sunday. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani said his country's soldiers would respect the truce. The two sides are mired in complicated negotiations to end their decades-long conflict, but direct talks have been delayed by a dispute over prisoner exchanges and an increase in fighting. There's hope the ceasefire, only the third since the conflict began, could lead to a longer-term reduction in violence, but the previous truces were unsuccessful in that regard. A similar ceasefire took place during Eid celebrations in 2018, and Taliban fighters in Afghan security forces were seen hugging each other and posing for selfies. But the Taliban has ordered their members not to enter government territory at this time. That's according to Al Jazeera and the BBC. The one sentence that I took from that is the soldiers, Taliban fighters, and Afghan security forces were seen hugging each other and posing for selfies. Even the soldiers don't want to be fighting these wars. Nobody likes war. Who's benefiting from the wars? The big corporations. That's who's benefiting the wars. The guys who make the bullets. Those are the guys making the wars. Am I going to get some heat for that? Maybe, maybe not. Nobody's listening. I don't care. And if they do listen to this, am I going to get some heat for that? Possibly, possibly. But who makes all the money in the wars? It's the guys making the bullets. They'll sell the bullets to that side and that side. That's what they do. That's their job. That's capitalism. So, who's making the money during this COVID-19? As far as I can see, it's the COVID-19 sign makers. It's the people making the gloves and the oh shoot. Hey, I'm getting a call from Lindsay. All right, I'm gonna put her in there. KeysDAN show, you're on the air. Hello.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Lindsay, you're on the air. You're on the KeysDAN show. Tell me a story.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, I'm not trying to tell you a story. I was asking I was going to see if you can give me a jump.
What? A jump? Oh.
Yeah, My battery's dead. I guess my ride.
Where you at?
8 Mile.
8 Mile. Oh man.
8 Mile.
Do you have cables?
No.
Shoot. Neither do I.
Well, it's okay. I'll find somebody. Thanks, Dan. Sorry.
No problem. Oh my goodness, Lindsay. Oh, well.
Hi, I'll be all right. It'll get worked out.
All right. If you don't find anybody in 5 minutes, you give me a call. I'll come out there.
All right.
All right.
Bye. Thanks.
You never know what you're going to get on the KeysDAN show. Lindsay. Now, Lindsay was on the podcast as well. My goodness, a damsel in distress. And I know she has a lot of friends, man, but I guess I need to get some cables. What to do? Should I go out there? Help? All right, she'll call me back. She'll call me back if there's any problems. If she can't find anybody, she has a lot of friends. She does. She's got a lot of friends. All right, I trust. All right, I may only have 5 minutes left with you guys, so she might call me. Oh my goodness. Damsel in distress. My friend Lindsay. She was on the podcast too. So look back and you could see Lindsay. She's an artist. She's selling her art. Jumps, man. That's crazy. All right. Now I'm conflicted. Should I stop this right now? Should I stop this? Oh, okay. Joseph Locastro. He says, natural. I love your fun and authenticity. This is great. Hi, what's up, KeysDAN? Your comments will live forever and ever in this video. I love it. If you'd like to call in, 501-470-6386, and you could be a part of the show. I may only have 4 minutes left because I'll get a call back from Lindsay and I'll be out there, man. I'll go running. I guess I got to find some jumper cables on the way. Wow. Okay. Now that totally derailed my mind on the show. One of my friends is out there and needs help, and it's kind of far away, but I'd be happy to go out there. Okay. All right. She will call back if she needs help. I'm sure she'll find somebody. All right. Number 6 on the 10 things you need to know today. Biden wins Hawaii primary. Former Vice President Joe Biden won Hawaii's Democratic presidential primary Saturday, taking in 63% of the vote. Senator Bernie Sanders, independent Vermont, earning the remaining 37%. Sanders dropped out of the race in April, but has remained on primary ballots in an effort to keep picking up delegates and gain more influence over the party's policy platform going forward. After Hawaii, Biden has a total of 1,566 delegates, which puts him on pace to cross the threshold needed to secure the nomination by June. Hawaii's primary, which was delayed for weeks because of the coronavirus pandemic, was held entirely by mail. This is according to the Hill and Honolulu Star Advisor. All right. Well, it looks like Joe Biden's going to be our candidate. Still having this two-party system. I'm not very up on politics. I'm hearing some things and I'm seeing some things, and I don't like some things that I'm seeing. You have Donald Trump on one side. He's very controversial president. He says what he's going to do. He sometimes he says what he's going to do before he does it, which is kind of dangerous. And he says what he's done after he does it. He'll tweet it all out. So talk about a very very transparent presidency. It's all out there on his social media, on his Twitter feed. And then you have Joe Biden. People are saying that he's doddering, and the videos that I'm seeing, maybe they're taken out of context, maybe they're mixed matched, maybe they're mixed up. That he'll start forgetting what he was talking about. I do that all the time. I'm 51 years old. I do that all the time. I forget what I was talking about, and I'll try to go back to it. I'll try to search my brain while I'm thinking about things. But I'm not on camera all the time. I'm on camera very little in comparison to Joe Biden, and sometimes he'll forget what he was going to say. Is he doddering? Is he showing some signs of senility? I don't know. Is he? Experts would say yes. Some would say no. He's fine. He's doing just fine. He's Joe Biden. And what people are voting for, from what I'm understanding, for the most part, is they're not just voting for Joe Biden. They're voting for the cabinet that he's going to choose, because they know as a president, the styles that presidents have had. Some will take advice from their advisors, and some will take advice from their big brain. I know President Trump, before he got elected, he said he had a big brain. He doesn't need anybody to listen to. He doesn't have to listen to anybody. So what Donnie does is pretty much what Donnie wants to do. President Trump, like it or not, that's the style of presidency that the majority. Well, I say that he did not win the populist vote, but he did get the collegiate, the electoral college vote. So yeah, okay. So we voted for him. That's the style of presidency he's running. But the style that a lot of people are betting on when they vote, if they vote for Joe Biden, is that he will take advice from his cabinet. He will choose a good cabinet of advisors. So that's what people are voting for, from my understanding, my limited understanding in that political field. All right, number 7, reports. Oh wait, number 7. Let's do another sound effect. Number 7, reports. Warren plans to host high dollar fundraiser for Biden. Senator Elizabeth Warren, Democrat, Massachusetts, has agreed to host a gathering of big money donors for the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, former Vice President Joe Biden. The New York Times reports. The event, which will take place online because of the coronavirus pandemic, is scheduled for June 15th. 3 people with knowledge of the plan told the Times, on condition of anonymity, during Warren's own presidential campaign, which ended shortly after Super Tuesday in March. The senator, a progressive Democrat, vowed not to attend private events or call wealthy potential donors for contributions. Instead, she relied on grassroots donations. But Warren had previously built a network of high dollar donors during her Senate campaigns and will reportedly turn to that group to aid Biden in his battle against President Trump. The New York Times is the ones who reported that. All right. So, yeah, the rich get richer. No, I guess campaigns need money. And that's what people with more money than I do. They donate to campaigns if they find one candidate that they like better than the other. And most of the time, it's whoever's going to push their agenda further. Like it or not, the rich get richer. The people, that's what they. Hey, if you made a lot of money, you've made some good choices. You've had some family that has helped you along the way. I hope you do good with your money. I don't I don't envy the people that have lots and lots of money, or I don't envy the people that have no money. I hope that most people are right down the middle, and I think that's where I find myself, and right down the middle. I live simply, with the money that I made. It's I take care of my family, but the wealthy can give their money to whomever candidate they choose. That is their right. All right, number 8 on the 10 things you need to know today. Netanyahu trial begins. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu trial on charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust began Sunday in Jerusalem. It's the first time in the country's history a sitting prime minister has faced criminal trial. Before entering the courthouse, Netanyahu called all 3 indictments, quote, ludicrous, end quote, and said the investigations, quote, were tainted from day one, end quote. Netanyahu, Israel's longest serving leader, was sworn into office for a 4th consecutive term a week ago. After months of stalemate, he and his chief political rivalry, Benny Gantz, the leader of the centrist Blue and White Party, recently reached a power sharing deal that will keep Netanyahu in power for the next 18 months, even with the trial underway. Gantz will then take over for his own 18-month period. This is according to Haaretz, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Haaretz, and Axios. All right, peace in the Middle East. Those 2 guys, they were going back and forth. And that's one of the advantages that I have of doing the 10 things you need to know today on a daily basis or an almost daily basis is I've been keeping up with that. And I know that there's been the elections have been pretty much 50-50 on both sides. So imagine that that's their version of a 2-party system. And the Netanyahu who's been I don't think they have that much of a term limit there. He's on his fourth term. Um, so, they've been 50-50, and they came up to this agreement. Hey, man, why don't I run the country for about 18 months, and then you run the country for the another 18 months, and we'll get that balance back and forth. How about that? Sharing the power. Hey, you be my second for 18 months, and then I'll be your second for 18 months, and hopefully we get all together here and we make this country run right. There you go. Peace in the Middle East. Peace. All right. Number 9 on the 10 things you need to know today. And I'm still worried about Lindsay. I want to get back with her. I'm going to call her as soon as I get off this thing. Number 9. Appeals Court upholds California's ban on in-person church services. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on Friday rejected a California church's lawsuit claiming California Governor Gavin Newsom, Democrat, and other state officials violated its First Amendment rights with stay-at-home orders during the coronavirus pandemic. The ruling said no violation occurred because that order, which was made in the interest of public health, quote, does not infringe upon or restrict the practices because of their religious motivation, end quote. Newsom's 4-stage reopening plan considers churches places where there's a high risk of spreading the virus, and therefore they won't open up until third stage. Currently, California is in its second phase. Earlier this week, more than 1,200 pastors in California signed a petition saying they will resume in-person services on May 31st. This is according to the Los Angeles Times and CNN. All right. Once again, there's that vigilance. All right. I'm not for that. I'm not for churches filling back up and having people sit next to each other, strangers sit next to each other, families that have been together, that if they're going to get it, they're going to get it. But having families sitting next to other families, sitting next to other families, that's how you spread viruses. That's how you spread diseases. That's how you spread germs. So I'm not for that. I'm all for people practicing religion any way that they want to do. But, I think, and people will say, put your trust in God. And the religious zealots, the ones that wholeheartedly have faith. And believe me, I used to have that faith. I used to have that faith that was so strong that God could do anything. That's what was instilled in me from a very early age. But then the other statement, God helps those who help themselves, that got into my head. So I think you need to help yourself. If the scientists, which are also of God, the scientists, which were made by God, are giving you this advice to stay away from each other, then do it. Okay? Yeah, I'm going to do a party on Friday nights, but we're staying away from each other. We're going to party on our own. I'm going to be playing music over here, and that music will spread over to over there. Hopefully, there's no germs in that music. But yeah, I think we should probably heed the advice of scientists, people that are smarter than us. Unless you're a scientist and you're the smartest scientist in the world, then I'll follow your advice. I will. All right, number 10 on the 10 things you need to know today. Oh, sad news to end us off here. A Hall of Fame college basketball coach Eddie Sutton dies at 84. Longtime college basketball coach Eddie Sutton, who learned 2 months ago he would be inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in August, died Saturday of natural causes. His family said he was 84. Sutton will enter the Hall of Fame posthumously in August alongside the late Kobe Bryant. Sutton coached hoops for 50 years at 6 different colleges and 1 high school, although he enjoyed success at most of his stops. His most prolific run was with Oklahoma State University, who he guided into 2 Final Fours in 1995 and 2004. During his 37 years at the Division I level, which included stints at Creighton University, the University of Arkansas, the University of Kentucky, and briefly before retiring in 2008, the University of San Francisco. He only had 2 losing seasons. His 806 career victories still ranks up in the top 25 of all time. That's according to Fox News and ESPN. Cool. I'm sorry that he died, but the man will be remembered. See? And that's how we keep people in our memories, is by remembering them. Yeah, that's how we keep people alive, is by remembering them. Now, that's what's going on tomorrow. As I record this today, Sunday, May 24th, 2020, tomorrow, Monday, May 25th, 2020, is Memorial Day, where we remember our fallen soldiers, the people that served in the armed forces and fell. I guess they fell during war and various ways in their service to the country, to the United States. How about that? So tomorrow, come by and give me a call. 501-470-6386, 3 p.m. Central Time. I'll be running one of these FB Lives, and you can talk about the people that were close to you that have fallen in the armed forces. Memorial Day. That's what that's all about. It's not just hot dogs and hamburgers and cooking up steaks and such, although steaks are delicious, and hot dogs and hamburgers, if you do them just right, yeah, they're pretty good. But it's a day off, and it's a day of reflection to remember those in the armed forces. Memorial Day, not to be confused with Veterans Day or even Armed Forces Day. So catch you tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central Time on FB Live. And for those that are listening to this audio or even watching the video podcast on YouTube, I thank you for joining me. I appreciate that. This has been the KeysDAN Show. If you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Or if you want to put some more knowledge in your noggin and you want to learn with me, you check out the What Makes You Smarter podcast, hashtag What Makes You Smarter. And that's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.